going to start with 5 rounds of Steinel. Now this Steinel ammo is 174 grain. And I'll shoot it single feed. Not like I have to, but because I want to make this a fair comparison, and that's how I'm going to do this with the reloads. I'm firing at the target in the bullseye in the upper left corner. It has a bright fluorescent red sticker on it. Here we go. Here we go. $24.50. $23.83. Same sight picture. $24.48. Very similar to the first round. Felt good. $23.78. Jumping around with that. $23.05. Kind of a slow one. Round 1. There we go. Orange. Center bullseye. $46. All right, round number 2. Steady pressure on the trigger. That felt good. $21.40. That's looking good. Good on the primers. That felt good. I cannot see that green target as well. $50. All right, here we go. You know, that turned out just fine. In fact, it was a far easier win for extreme reloading than I thought it was going to be. That 7.7 Arisaka Steinel brass and factory ammo, pretty darn good stuff. But it's fairly common, of course, when you're reloading for a given rifle that you can, really make those adjustments for that rifle. And that's one of the reasons why hand loads or reloads turn out so darn good. Now the first thing I'll look at is the group size. In both cases I was firing 5-shot groups. Now I had cleaned and dried this bore prior to shooting any rounds. And the first 5, of course, were the Steinel factory ammo at the upper left corner bullseye. Now that orange bullseye, I could really see it clearly. And then when I went to the center bullseye where I had put that lime green, zombie green bullseye, I really couldn't see that anywhere near as well as I could that big bright red or orange bullseye. So in that case, the Steinel factory ammo had a bit of an advantage simply because I could see my sight picture that much better. But it didn't really perform that well. First 2 shots looked really promising, but then they started, jumping. And in fact, if we look at the muzzle velocities, they were also, fairly large, kind of jumping around a little bit. Made a comment about that actually while I was shooting. I was trying my darndest in both cases to get the same sight picture, and I felt like I was really doing that pretty darn well. It's 50 yards, old eyes, but I think it was a fair test across the board. Now the reloads, 180 grain Sierra soft point bullets, they worked out pretty darn well. Once again, these loads are firing low, so I'll have to make some adjustments to the sights to kind of pick that up. Or I might actually change in the future and try another bullet. There's a 150 grain Hornady bullet that's available, and I might be able to step up the velocities on that thing and get that to shoot more at point of aim. I'm not sure what the Arisaka load, the old military load, was actually even using, what grain bullet they were shooting. In those days, though, I wouldn't doubt it was 180, 190, maybe even something like a 200 grain bullet could have been used in those days. Bullets were nowhere near as high performance as they are today, and so they tended to shoot heavier loads. Now the second thing I like to look at, and actually I pay more attention to the muzzle velocities and standard deviation than I do the group size at this phase of my reloading. And while the factory ammo had a standard deviation of 60 feet per second, it was, of course, much faster than my reloads. And the velocity of those bullets then explains why it was shooting higher, like the point of impact of these factory ammo, better than what my reloads were doing. My hand loads were achieving 17 feet per second standard deviation and an average of roughly 2150 feet per second out of the muzzle. That consistency is about 30% of what we were getting with that factory ammo. So overall, I'm really happy how these reloads were working out in the 7.7 Arisaka Type 99 rifle. Now you might recall that earlier in this season of extreme reloading, we were loading for the 8mm Mauser in that M48 Mauser rifle. I went back into my records and it's really interesting. The standard deviation of the 5 shots, it would have been the exact same point, shooting for group, was also 17 feet per second. Of course, it was a much faster velocity, about 2,500 feet per second under that 8mm Mauser, but still, the exact same standard deviation. And very similar group size. The 7.7 Arisaka gave me about a 1.5 inch group, whereas the Mauser gave me a 1.6 inch group. So 1.5 versus 1.6, that is really similar group size. And that makes our next episode all the more exciting. What we're going to do is we're going to put the Mauser versus the Arisaka rifles and have a little fun. We're going to shoot a 50-yard group, then going to go to 100 and even 200 yards with these rifles. Let's see how it all plays out on our next episode of Extreme Reloading. Thanks for watching.